Hello and welcome to another sensual episode of Faffing with Friends. Today we're gonna cover what is a lot of people's first step into anime. Fullmetal Brotherhood. Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, yes, thanks for coughing, Ivaylo. This show, a lot of people honestly start as their first anime, such as our dear friend Joe!
Hooray!
Woo! But yeah, no, it's a very good, it's a very solid, it's a lot of people's favorite, but I do think that nostalgia and being a lot of people's first anime does play a role in that. But I also think it is very good. It's just been a long time since I've fully rewatched it. Though, I should mention one thing that I want to start with. This is one of like 5 anime that I prefer the dub to. I want to hear what you guys think about that.
Well,
Because every other anime almost I watch in Japanese, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, it has to be the English dub. I can't not do that.
well, before I proceed, I only have one question. Are we talking about the anime or the manga? Because
We're also not mentioning the atrocious piece of shit that is original anime Fullmetal Alchemist that didn't fucking...
where do I even start with Fullmetal Alchemist? I completely agree with the fact that for many people it was one of the gateways into the anime world. It came at a time where, like, for me, I wasn't super into anime, not as much as I am now in manga in general. I've just given up on Naruto, and I had just finished watching...
I love that. I had just given up on Naruto.
I really was. I was over it. It was the war arc, and I was like, you know what, I've had enough of this.
My god, that means you watched FMA Brotherhood really late.
I did.
If you were, like, in the Naruto war arc.
I did. I watched it incredibly late, and not when it was coming out. And, what else? I had watched Housing Ultimate, which was fucking batshit crazy. And then I sat down to watch Brotherhood, and I was very pleasantly surprised by everything I saw. Mainly the storytelling in this thing is 100% solid, amazing, insanely choreographed piece of writing. It's incredibly good. I can't say enough about it. I love the characters in this. The characterization in this is incredibly strong. It's some of the best characterization I've seen in any medium, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen it in a long while, like I said, but even it has some of the best, both good and bad guys. Like,
yep.
There's villains that are incredibly, like, intriguing, well-written, fascinating to watch, and there's also half the, like, good guy cast, which is rare in a lot of media, is, like, actually well-developed. I like them. I want to see them make it out of shit. It's like, yay!
100%, man. 100%. And the thing is, I agree with you on the dubbed version. I don't really watch anime in dubs all that much. I can bear Fullmetal Alchemist in sub and dub. If not for poor Vic Mignogna's incidents in recent years. If you don't know about him, he was basically Me Too'd. So,
yeah.
that whole thing happened. But, yeah, the dub's pretty insane. I love it as well. But it's just, Fullmetal Alchemist is a top 5 show if you want to get into anime. And just in general, like, everyone you talk to who is into the genre will have it on their list. But enough about me. I'm a veteran in this fucking genre. I wrote a dissertation on this. I'm pretty much goated when it comes to anime and manga. But, Joe, this was your first experience into the genre. Tell me what you think.
So for a long time, I've avoided watching anime. And it might have been the way I've been brought up, because cartoons were okay, and I don't know why. It was nothing solid or direct. It was always subconscious. I just wasn't able to watch anime, right? So I really liked Ed and Al, and I really liked Roy Mustang.
Yes.
And Reza Hawkeye as well, and Mace Hughes. But what really got me intrigued was the use of the 7 vices in the story as the villains.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was just very interesting.
Well, no, you mentioned, like, the 7 deadly sins or vices, whichever, like, dub or translation you fucking want to go with. But yeah, I think they're at least half of them are incredibly well written. The other half, They get some build up, but then they get disposed of kind of like jobbers pretty quickly, which is a bit disappointing. But fucking Raph, King Bradley.
Yes.
Fucking, oh my god, what a well-written fucking villain. By the
10.
end, you're just like, this motherfucker's more interesting than all the other villains put together at this point. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Omni-Man before his temples went grey and with an eye patch.
He literally even has the Omni-Man stash. Like, this is...
He does.
Yes.
Never trust men with that mustache. But I love Wrath, and I love they call it the homunculi, the actual story.
Homunculi.
The homunculi, yes. And they all embody a vice, and religion plays... This is why I recommended Fullmetal Alchemist to Joe, because we all know he's a devout religious man, and religion gets the good old anime treatment in this story. You have this otherworldly power called alchemy, which is sort of taboo, but people use it openly, especially in the military, so they use it for military users.
It's literally government-sanctioned magic.
It is government-sanctioned magic.
Yeah.
But you see, the most important thing about Fullmetal Alchemist is that you see how the power scaling in this world affects these characters. You don't really get that in other animes as much. Obviously in Dragon Ball you have Chi, in Naruto you have Chakra, and...
Yeah, but the problem with like the ones you specifically named being shonen is that the entire problem is the writers never seem to think far enough ahead.
Exactly.
So you have to continue like scaling powers up because you didn't build an upper limit, and it becomes a joke.
Exactly. In this show, everyone who uses the world's natural power, the Arakawa's world's natural power, they're fucking miserable for using it. Everyone who is an alchemist, everyone who taps into this power has either sacrificed something or has insane post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah, because in world, it's the whole idea of equivalent exchange.
100%, which is absolutely...
And that's taken from like actual, what alchemy in the olden days was, actually
100%.
And it's, you need to have the ingredients to create something new. You need to burn something in a process, in a formula, to get something new. And in Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, anytime you do some sort of magic, there's a give and take with the natural order. Nothing you create comes out of nothing.
Yep.
It's rules of matter, etc., etc.
And that's the ultimate thing. That's the ultimate sin that Ed and Al commits. They tap into the most forbidden parts of alchemy. They try to resurrect their mom. They try to do human transmutation. And they are rightfully punished for it by the being called truth, which in my opinion is the closest thing we have to a god figure in Fullmetal Alchemist's world. Truth is the embodiment of God in my opinion, and because the alchemists are doing stuff which contradict the natural order of things, like trying to create life, they get absolutely punished for it. But, just like real God, truth is merciful, and he sets them on the path of redemption. And this is why Fullmetal Alchemist is so good, because, again, other animes and other shonens have a set end goal in mind, I don't know, Deku wants to be the number one hero, Naruto wants to become
Hokage!
I will become the Hokage, but no. Ed and Ao are on a journey to redeem their original sin. They're on a journey to redeem the fact that they've tapped into an art that they never should have.
And, get Al's body back, lol.
And get Al's body back, which... It's just such a beautiful journey. They're not on a journey to seek power and status. They're on a journey to normality and redemption.
I mean, I do like that it's literally the show starts with them doing the big bad, and it's like, oh fuck, we done fucked up.
Yep.
We need to do something to fix this. We made big mistake, big boo boo.
Yep. That's pretty much.
One thing I wanted to mention is this is another show that I feel does something that I like to see in all media and fiction I enjoy. And Avatar: The Last Airbender, I feel, does this probably better, but they both do this, and I love it. The world gets developed to the point where you have a mental map of the cultures and where they are, and how this world looks and how they politically interact with each other. And that is fucking good, because that is what you want. It shows that people put effort into the world building. Like, the fact you have Scar, who's from a certain part of the world that got fucked up by this empire. The fact you have, the semi-Asian characters like coming from their side and
Yeah.
having completely different beliefs and cultures, and even calling alchemy something different.
Alchemy.
Yeah, exactly. It's really fucking cool that you have fully developed cultural systems in this world. It's the same way, like I said, one of my favorite shows growing up when I was tiny, before I'd ever given a shit about any anime, was Avatar: The Last Airbender, which has, all the different elemental kingdoms and everyone having completely their own separate culture in them. And it's so good to see that. It's such a refreshing thing to see, because a lot of anime shit on world building. You get like, oh yeah, this guy's from somewhere else, and there's like literally nothing to tell him apart except his hat or his hair. Like, what the fuck? Why do all the people from over here have blonde hair, Naruto?
Oh, that is not funny. That is not funny. It's just bad writing altogether. But yeah, another thing I particularly love, I really like how the show goes out of its way to establish how both faith and science have two extremes which should never be touched upon. My two biggest examples are, in episode 3 it's Father Cornello, and then in episode 4 straight after is probably the most hated man in all of anime, Shao Tucker. So Father Cornello, he goes through like this whole radical religious leader thing, and he manipulates everyone into believing he's doing miracles, when in reality he's just using alchemy to create a philosopher's stone. And then Ed and I were faced with that, and we get an idea into like their beliefs and how they reject this false god in a way, because I actually have a quote right here which Ed says. He says, "Alchemists are scientists. We don't believe in unproven concepts like gods. We strive to uncover the principles of creation and the matter of this world, to pursue truth." Now, obviously, they pursued truth, and they found that if you pursue truth, you get punished for it. And in the same way, Father Cornello, who abuses the power of God and religion, gets punished for it. Like, that's the extreme. Blind faith is bad. Like, completely blind devout faith is bad. With Cornello, we have the extremes of blind faith. And then with Shao Tucker, we have the extremes of science left untapped, something which alchemy allows in this world. See, now this is an iconic moment in the show. I've watched this moment with like 3 different people, and they've all reacted.
What, Nina getting turned into a fucking doggy?
It's the exact same reaction every time. I actually watched it with my girlfriend most recently, and she dropped the show after it. She said, "No, thank you. I don't want to continue. I have seen enough. I don't want to continue."
Do you know why I was sure that I'm an asshole very early on in life? Because I saw that scene the first time and I could not give less of a shit.
You were not bothered.
Wow.
Fair play. But
I was just like, oh no, he turned his daughter into a dog. I didn't see that coming. What a fucking freaky dude.
I felt so bad. The first time I watched that, see, the thing is, I watched it with a friend, so I was in the
don't get me wrong, it's sad, but it's like,
it's twisted.
I wasn't that fucking affected by it. I was just like, oh, well, that's stupid.
It is fucking twisted. It's sick. It is physically. I've been physically sick.
Yeah, it makes you nauseous. Yeah.
Everything in that scene, Ed's anger, the close up of his eyes, the realization when she goes, Edward. That fucking voice line is stuck in my head. I hate that scene.
You get secondhand trauma for it. I
do.
Don't want to watch it again. Like, when I watched it with you,
so disgusting.
I was also tempted to drop the show, but you were like, no, bro, just give it a chance. It gets better than this. But I was like, why would you show me this?
Nah. I genuinely know people who just dropped the show at that scene. And
that's really funny. I'm like
raw.
I've seen stuff that's so much more like extreme that was just like, yeah, it's fucked up.
Right, but in a way, what Ed and Al do from that moment on is that they remember what happened, and they know that they can never take it back. They know that they can never undo it. That's why they keep going, because they have to end it. Otherwise, this unbridled, unchecked power will just keep getting worse and worse, like you said.
Yeah.
There's a villain I want to talk about, by the way. And he's the most human of villains in terms of his actual, what, like, he is. Because, the homunculi are fucking not human, by any...
Is it Kimberly?
Of course it's fucking Kimberly.
Right, yes.
The Crimson Alchemist.
Kimberly, my boy.
Arguably the most fucking evil villain on the show, who's just a human who's really fucked up.
Yeah.
How do we feel about Kimberly?
I liked Kimberly's introduction in the jail cell, like, completely.
That introduction is 10 out of 10 for a villain.
And then when you go through the flashbacks and you go to see like the War of Ishval and how all the characters who you see now have been there and have been traumatized, like Mustang, Hawkeye, Hughes, even the comic relief character Alex Louis Armstrong was there.
Oh yeah,
and he couldn't find the bright side of the murder in Ishval. And then you see fucking Kimberly
just having the time of his life,
riding a wave of Philosopher's Stones, just like opening hellfire on innocent people. Like, I hate Kimberly so much, and in that
my dude's like, yeehaw, genocide.
And the fact he's the only character to get Ao to, because after all the horrors of alchemy, the boys have a realization saying, no matter what, we're not gonna use a Philosopher's Stone to get our bodies back or to enhance our alchemy. Once Ao is faced with Kimberly and with Pride, he has to use the Philosopher's Stone in order to match them. Otherwise, he is fucked, because Pride is a fucking homunculus, doesn't give a shit, and Kimberly uses the stone like it's absolutely nothing. It's just...
That's what I really like about Kimberly, is like, because of how fucked he is, right, as a person, he's the only one that it's almost to the level where the rule of equivalent exchange stops applying for him.
Yes.
Because he doesn't care what he has to sacrifice.
Yep.
He's happy to fucking kill everything in the world if it means he gets to have a little fun.
Yeah, man. Kimberly's just a fucking bastard. Like, it's just... That's why he committed way too many war crimes, even for a country led by King Bradley.
War crime the character, dude.
War crimes the character. I love the characterization in these, man. I love the characterization. I love Mustang as well. Mustang is a great character. I think that...
I mean, he's made to be like... I feel like he's one of the bigger stand-ins for the audience. You're supposed to be like, Mustang's my guy. Me and him are like close, you know what I mean?
But even he has to pay for the crimes he's committed at the end. He has to lose his eyesight. That's right. And, even though arguably he might become Führer at the end, hopefully...
You know what one of my favorite things in the show is, by the way? Scar going from starting off as a clear-cut villain to becoming one of the most sympathetic characters in the show.
100%. 100%.
Scar is such a nice thing to see, a character like that in any sort of fiction.
100%. His evolution is amazing, and even though he ends up killing Winry's parents by complete accident, later on when he's revealed everything he went through, it's just the unforgiving nature of war, unfortunately. And
you literally you can't help but understand him and feel bad for him, because it's like,
man.
You're going up against the country that is run by evil fucking demon people for real.
It's just it's insane. Like war is an enduring motive as well in this story. It's all over the place, and the majority of good manga, it's overshadowing. And we can argue about Japanese imperial warfare history and all that kind of stuff, but
I mean, obviously we all know it's like a commentary on imperialism bad, because Japan has been on that train since they got blown up during World War II.
Arakawa does a major job. She does a tremendous job of building up that world and just just like, what's the word, deconstructing it, man. Just deconstructing that over and over again. Before I finish and I hand it over to Joe, I want to say one more thing. I want to talk about the ending and what eventually solves the journey of Ed and Ao. So they managed to return Ao's body and Ed's hand. They can't return his leg, but the way it's done, when Ed meets Truth again towards the end of the episode, towards the end of the show, Truth asks him again the question like, why are you here? All that kind of stuff. Why are you still here? What does it cost you? And Ed does something that no other anime character or manga protagonist I've seen does.
He gives up his power.
He realizes that the thing to do is to give up your power, which for the time of this manga's writing was absolutely batshit crazy. Keep in mind, these are like early 2005s, right? 2005, early 2000s. At this point, manga has gone from the male fantasy of Kenshiro's Thousand Fists of Death.
Oh, baby.
To every single shonen protagonist getting way more stronger with each arc and unlocking new bullshit moves like your Rasengans and your Rasen Shurikens and your Six Tails of Chakra mode and whatever the fuck you want. And to see a character get progressively stronger on his journey only to then give everything up is just amazing characterization.
It's such a great story beat, and then you sit there and you're like, yeah, I haven't seen this happen in a lot of fiction. Why the fuck haven't I seen this happen in more fiction? It's such a well, like, good character building thing when someone actually has to go, yeah, I'll take a power down just to fix things. Like,
in the last episode, you see a very humane moment of Ed fixing. He's using like a hammer and nail to fix the roof of his house, and he's just playfully going, right, let me try one more time to use alchemy, and just nothing comes out. You're like, yeah, well, worth a try.
I think this trope works really well with Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, except that it doesn't work well all the time with other shows like Heroes, where Peter loses his power and then regains it again for no reason, and then it's just
but that's the
devalues
problem.
it.
Heroes didn't actually balls down on the concept. It gave it for like a little go, and then like, wait a minute, do we need Peter? Peter needed.
They also didn't balls down on killing Nathan once. They had to kill him like 4 times.
Oh yeah.
But absolutely agree with Ivaylo about how the show ended. I think it ended really well. It had to end that way. It's the only way that made sense. There had to be some sacrifice.
You know what's funny, by the way? I totally get getting Al's body back. I would super not give a shit about having to use those prosthetics. They're fucking sick.
They are.
Like,
right, yeah.
The arm and the leg, I don't want those back. Keep them, Truth. Shit.
Nah.
But he wanted to be whole again, right? After all this hero's journey, Ed just wanted to be whole again, and the only way he could be whole again was to have his limbs back.
Winfrey, build me sicker cosmetics.
Right, that's actually... It's funny you mention that, because I want to talk about some of the supporting characters before we wrap up. So definitely Winry, you know, the girl next door. I know it's an overused trope, but she's such a pure character, right? And you're meant to love her from the moment.
She's cool. I like her.
Yeah.
Like, she's just cool.
You're meant to love her from the moment you're introduced to her, and she's so nice. And when she meets Hughes and his family, and
it's the sense of humor she's got. You know,
right.
she gets along with like the funnier characters because she's also got a sense of humor.
Right.
Yep.
A lot of like secondary characters in a lot of anime are written to be fucking always serious, always worried, always like, oh. It's like, no, just give them character for fuck's sake.
Like Izumi Curtis, you know, their teacher. So she's worried and she's always concerned for the boys, but she also pulls through in the end as well, and she's a great character too. So is her husband.
Funny as fuck as well.
Yeah.
That's a like the theme with this show. All the characters are really hilarious. They're all written that way.
Despite the serious subject matter and like the post-traumatic war syndrome and like everything going on with these amazing comments on religion.
Ed and Al are constantly cracking jokes, and like Al's a fucking walking suit of armor, bro. And it's still like, yeah, that's funny.
And Ed's a fucking midget. So you know,
I love that as a running gag. It's hilarious.
I'm not short, god damn it!
And it's beautiful because you see him actually grow older until the later episode was actually taller than Winry. So,
that's right.
Oh yeah, because it's like, yeah, no shit, because he's so fucking young. Of course he's a midget. Like that's an interesting thing because it actually emphasizes, yo, they're fucking children.
Exactly. Yep.
This happened to them when they were children.
Yep. And exactly why the theme of redemption is so important in this.
Yes.
Because they committed a sin. They committed a sin nonetheless. But they were young. They didn't know what they were doing. They have...
Yeah, literally fucking
They have
kids.
their whole life ahead of him to search for redemption. And they managed to get it.
And I love that message.
Early. And yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
it also makes the tragedy of it so much worse.
Yeah.
Like, as you see Ed actually physically age in this series, you're like... It dawns on you, yo, they were like fucking, what, 12, 14 or something?
Yep.
And they like fucking made a deal with the devil almost to revive their mom, more or less.
I don't think it was a deal with the devil. It was like a sin.
Well, you know, all alchemy's a deal with the devil, really.
Yeah.
It's why it's like you see a fucking pentagram appear when you touch the ground.
Yeah, it's a Faustian pact.
Yeah.
I really see this more as a Job situation, not gonna lie. I really see this more as truth or God just testing them, and they managing to through humility and through faith, because obviously when that final action of Ed where he gives up his power, he becomes nothing more than a humble human who is no longer playing God. And truth is like, yeah, you've learned your lesson. Don't play God anymore. Be a normal human being.
Right, that's interesting. But
now.
I would argue that actually truth is literally the personification of truth and not God in that sense, because God is all good in my understanding.
Is God not the truth, Joe? Is that what you're saying?
God is the truth. God is the truth. But you have to understand here, we're talking about concepts and not a God. Because if you're talking about God and you're talking about alchemy in that relation, then God wouldn't have allowed for that whatever horrendous being that Al and Ed created in the alchemy to come to being, because that's not who God is, right? So that's why I agree with Lawrence on this point, that what they made was a Faustian pact.
Fair.
I mean, again, like for me, it's always been any time anyone does alchemy, a fucking pentagram appears, more or less.
Yeah.
You're like, yo, that says something, doesn't it?
But on that note, I want to talk about the relationship between Ed and Al, the undying relationship between brothers.
Yeah, it's so good. It's one of the most wholesome fucking, like, relationships in anime between two characters.
Yeah.
It's like Kakashi and Guy in Naruto. That's what's good for people who watch it. Like, that's one of the few things that never got bad in that series, because I love how much bros they are. Like, bros to the end.
They're such bros. And it's amazing because Al looks up to Ed, but he also knows Ed's limits. And he keeps reminding him often that, I'm not flesh like you. I'm literally a piece of armor. You gotta dial it down a little bit sometimes. Otherwise, you're gonna lose more limbs.
You also gotta trust me. I can take a hit. You can't, you little midget.
Exactly. Yeah. And I love the fact that they just stick together and stick it out with each other, and they eventually end up trusting Van Hohenheim, even though they had every reason not to, because they felt like they abandoned him.
This show does something I like, and it doesn't create contrived conflict between the main characters without purpose.
Absolutely.
Yes. A lot of shows will create, it's that whole, I've talked about this trope so much because it's my most hated trope in all of fiction, which is just talk.
Yes.
Just talk.
Exactly.
Yes. Fix the problem that is a simple misunderstanding by just communicating.
Well, that's what they do. That's what they do with Van Hohenheim.
And that's what I mean, Ivaylo. That's why I like it, because it's like, that's my biggest pet peeve in all of fiction, and this show never does it without a reason.
Exactly.
And you know who the catalyst is, who encourages Ed and Al to talk at a moment when it looks like they're not about to? It's Winry.
It is Winry.
She's the one who knocks senses into them and says, you gotta talk to you. Like, she literally says it.
Winry is literally going what I do when that happens. She's going, just talk!
Oh yeah, that was, you mentioned a very good point. That was when that butcher guy, Billy the Butcher, was he was putting thoughts into Al's head, who is still a child, by the way. He was like, oh, you're artificial, you were never real.
That's right.
And then Winry's like, talk to your brother, you can't have all these fake memories. You're a real human.
That's right.
You're a real boy.
You're a real boy. But honest to God, man, I love Fullmetal Alchemist. I don't rewatch it as often because it's I
don't think it's the kind of show that's easy to rewatch, because it's very fucking long, first of all. Like, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is incredibly long.
It's satisfying because once you watch it once, it's such a fulfilling story that you really don't need to revisit it.
No.
Yeah, it's like you're like, I've seen it. I know how Fullmetal Alchemist goes now. It's like, it's there. It's always going to be there. If I want to rewatch it with someone to introduce them, I'll do it.
Yeah.
But like...
I will say this. I've always wanted to watch Game of Thrones with someone who's never seen it, just so I can see their reaction to the Red Wedding and Ned dying and stuff like that. I want to rewatch Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood with someone, just so I can see their reaction to the wholesome content, of Ed and Al and Winry and them winning and just all the other amazing supporting
And then
cast.
show fucking Tucker with the dog,
Right. I mean, we might skip that episode.
No, you may never. You may never. But
they have to suffer to understand true redemption.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very glad that Joe liked it, and this is just some of the iceberg of what the medium can offer. Like, there's plenty of other. See, me and
like I said, I think it's a very good anime, but I super wouldn't say it's one of the best. I think that's just. It's such a solid one that a lot of people think about it really, highly, right?
It's very high rated.
But there is a lot that's, so much better as well.
See, me and Lawrence come to an understanding that 90% of anime in this world is absolute dog shit.
It's hot trash.
But the 10%, Fullmetal Alchemist is in the 5% of that 10%.
Amazing.
I'd say that's fine.
That's what I'm saying. If you haven't watched it, obviously go and watch it. We turn someone who hasn't seen any anime into someone who loves the series.
Is the whole thing still available on Netflix in the UK?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so if you fucking got Netflix, go watch the whole damn show. It's on there.
Yeah. Before they take it away, man. Before Japan just says no. Anyways. But, yeah. I don't have anything else to say, really. I love Fullmetal Alchemist. I think it's amazing. And, yeah, bro. Take it away.
I want Joe to take it over because he's the one that we've indoctrinated into the weird.
Yeah, Joe, go on. Conclude.
Tell us, give us a nice, send away.
Yeah,
go ahead,
send
brother.
us away. Go on.
Fullmetal Alchemist is what Game of Thrones should have been. The way it ended. because it doesn't matter how you start something, it matters how you end it. So for me, Fullmetal Alchemist ended in such a way that even though it doesn't have the same rewatch value for me that most other shows do, including Game of Thrones up until a certain point, that I may rewatch it again and again throughout my life. And if I ever have children, I'll introduce it to them potentially as one of the good and one of the wholesome animes that's out there. And I'm grateful to both Ivaylo for sticking out with me and watching it with me, and for Lawrence recommended it as well. So on that note, everybody, please consider supporting us by liking us, subscribing to us. If you support us, we can literally cover everything. And
yeah, we're gonna force Joe to watch all the good.
Literally, we have a running theory Ivaylo came up with, which is this podcast was created so I can catch up on all the media that I've missed. And I've been catching up on quite a lot already.
It really fucking is.
If you guys want to hear how that goes, then please support us.
Yeah, to give you all context, because of this podcast, he's seen like Breaking Bad and FMA Brotherhood so far, and Invincible. Yeah. So
he's about to read Berserk as well. So there is
exactly.
that
someday.
But it's just thank you for supporting us. It means everything to us. Like us, subscribe us, ring the bell. If any of you are into music or want to listen to some new albums, please check out my blog at Ivinyls. The link in the description. I upload it regularly with my own vinyl collection and with a friend. So check us out. And yeah, we're gonna have loads more music discussion on this podcast as well in the near future. So yeah, that's it from me. I've been Ivaylo.
I'm Lawrence, the greatest alchemist there ever was.
And I'm Joe von Hahenheim. Don't forget to tell your cousin Randy about us.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.